और इतना सिक्योरिटी आप ड्रॉ करते हैं जजों की 2011 का चलेगा 5 गई ये तो बुलेट जस्ट एज ए ह्यूमन एज ए डेडिकेशन एज ए हार्ड वर्क कोई कमी नहीं ऑनेस्ट टी शर्ट घर में गए तो हम लोग ये भी नहीं लग रहा कि किसी देश का पता हो लेकिन इनके तो कोई नहीं थे
My Lord, I seek your Lordship's permission to open the proceedings.
Please do.
The proceedings are open.
My Lord, Honorable Mr. Justice Raghvendra Singh Chauhan, Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court, Nainital. Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kumar Misra, Senior Judge. Their esteemed companion judges gracing the occasion by their benign presence. President High Court Bar Association, Senior Advocates, Assistant Solicitor General, Learned Registrar General, my colleagues on government side, members of the bar, members of the registry, ladies and gentlemen. We have assembled here to bid a farewell to Honorable the Chief Justice Mr. Raghvendra Singh Chauhan on his superannuation as a Chief Justice from this Honorable High Court. Moments of farewell are always normally painful. As a result, throat gets choked. One does not get words to express his emotions, but the cruel rule of duty always dominates over the tender feelings. His Lordship started his career as an advocate on 30th November 1983 in Rajasthan High Court. His Lordship's field of specialization was in criminal and civil matters. His Lordship elevated as an additional judge of Rajasthan High Court on 30th June 2005. His Lordship was promoted as permanent judge on 24th January 2008. Thereafter, His Lordship was transferred as a judge of Karnataka High Court on 10th March 2015. Again, His Lordship was transferred as a judge of Telangana High Court on 8th November 2018. Thereafter, His Lordship was appointed as acting Chief Justice of Telangana High Court on 3rd April 2019. On 22nd June 2019, His Lordship was appointed as Chief Justice of Telangana High Court. His Lordship was appointed to perform the duties of the office of Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court on 31st December 2020 and took oath on 17th January 2021. As a head of this family, His Lordship's magnetic personality has swayed everyone, having found His Lordship, besides being a kind-hearted person, a disciplined worker, hard worker, a brilliant and just judge, a positive thinker, academician, and a great orator, and among them all, a wonderful coordinator and administrator. Sir, undoubtedly, your multifaceted personality has left an indelible stamp on our heart, which we will cherish as a souvenir lifelong. Sir, we wish you and your family a very good health and prosperity in life. But since we belong to this land, which is abode of God, and since this is a part of our cherished culture, that whenever we bid farewell to our beloved, we pray Almighty to make his path free from all trouble. I also accomplish this tradition, but in the words of Saint Tulsi, Privish Nagar Kije Sab Kaja, Hriday Rakhi Kosalpur Raja, Garal Sudha Ripu Karahi Mitai, Gopad Sindhu Anal Sitlai. Thank you.
Honorable the Chief Justice of High Court of Uttarakhand, Honorable Judges of the Uttarakhand High Court. Today, we have assembled here to bid adieu to our beloved Chief Justice, Honorable Mr. Justice Raghvendra Singh Chauhan, Chief Justice. The Honorable Chief Justice has a very illustrious legal career as an advocate, as a judge. Prior to joining the legal profession, Lordship had a brilliant academic record. Lordship had done his graduation in History and Fine Arts, all with first class in gold medal from Arcadia University, Clemside, PA, USC, and thereafter his law degree from Campus Law Center, Delhi University, that too in a first division. His Lordship enrolled himself as an advocate with the Bar Council of Rajasthan and started his legal practice in High Court of Rajasthan in the year 1983. As his Lordship being a very hard-working, dedicated advocate, Lordship has practiced in all fields of law, but mainly in criminal law. Due to Lordship's legal acumenship, Lordship was offered panels by Government of Rajasthan in various government departments like State Road Transport Corporation, Agriculture Marketing Board, Rajasthan, Advocate for Department of STEM Registration, Government of Rajasthan, Income Tax Department, etc. Due to his Lordship's versatility in all fields of law and dedication to legal field, Honorable High Court of Rajasthan offered a judgeship in High Court of Rajasthan, and Lordship was elevated to the High Court of Rajasthan in the year 2005. His Lordship, while holding the post of High Court Judge, Lordship has presented papers like Trial by Media in International Perspective, International Law Conference on Dispensation of Justice in 2007, the Indian Constitution Panacea for Social Conflict 2008, a paper presented at Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, Creativity Confined in the Age of Freedom, a paper presented before the International Jurist Commission, Karnataka. Lordship has been Judge of Karnataka High Court and thereafter Chief Justice of Telangana High Court, and joined Uttarakhand High Court on 17th of January 2021. After joining his Lordship, this High Court, Lordship has been appreciated as a hard-working, brilliant and most well-behaved judge of this High Court. The entire perception in the bar by Lordship is quite evident that the crowd which is gathered here today, the hard-working, brilliant, most well-behaved judgeship of this High Court. The entire perception in the bar, my Lord, is that your Lordship has been very good to all advocates, whether junior or senior. While Chief Justice of High Court, Lordship has pronounced trend-setting judgments on jail reforms. Regarding COVID pandemic period, Lordship has been very motivating factor to all the person, those who are in a good position to help the needy one, and because of Lordship was always concerned about the hardship to be confronted by lawyers, particularly junior lawyers, and motivated the Bar Association to help junior members of the Bar and Bar Association. And because of the Lordship's motivation, the Bar Association distributed about 10 lakhs among the affected and needy lawyers. The Lordship has also issued various direction during pandemic in order to save this state, particularly the downtrodden, from being affected by the disease, and issued various direction to the state government so this pandemic could not be spread. And the direction of the Honorable Chief Justice was carried in letter and spirit by the state, and many untimely death was prevented. My lords, the departing the company is very painful for everyone, but this is a cyclic order of a human being. One day has to go. But my lords, we can never forget the Lordship's tenure here in this High Court. And now, finally, I on my own behalf and on behalf of the Bar wish a very healthy, peaceful and very active life to your Lordship after retirement, as well as to the entire family, my lords. Deep lords.
Honorable Chief Justice Sri Raghvendra Singh Chauhan, my brother judges of this court, gracious Lady President Madam Rekha Chauhan, spouses of my brother judges, daughter and son of Chief Justice Chauhan, the friends of Justice Chauhan who has travelled all the way from Jaipur, Mr. A.S. Rawat, President of the High Court Bar Association Nainital, Sri S.N. Babulkar, Learned Advocate General, High Court of Uttarakhand, Learned Senior Advocates, members of the registry, esteemed members of the bar, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have gathered here to bid farewell to Honorable Chief Justice Sri Raghvendra Singh Chauhan, who is demitting office today on his superannuation. Chief Justice Chauhan was born on 24th of December 1959 to Dr. P.S. Chauhan and Srimati Sushila Chauhan at Kathmandu, Nepal. He had his schooling as well as graduation mostly in Glenside, PA, United States of America. In 1983, he passed LLB in first division from the Campus Law Center, Delhi University. I may pause here and say that he is my elder brother in Campus Law Center and my alma mater. I have been always looking forward the day I came here as his elder brother, as my elder brother, and true to my expectation, he was very affectionate and caring elder brother. I must express my gratitude and thanks to Chief Justice Chauhan in presence of all of us. Thank you, Justice Chauhan. I am really obliged. He joined the profession and enrolled himself as an advocate in the State Bar Council of Rajasthan. He was elevated as the judge of the High Court of Rajasthan on 13 June 2005. He worked almost for 10 years. Thereafter, he was transferred as a judge of the High Court of Karnataka on March 10, 2015. He was again transferred to the High Court of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana on 23rd November 2018. On separation of the state of Andhra Pradesh from Telangana on 1st of January 2019, he was elevated as the acting Chief Justice of Telangana High Court on 4th of April 2009. He was appointed and assumed office as the Chief Justice of the High Court of Telangana on 22nd June 2019. He became the Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court on 7th of January 2021. Chief Justice Chauhan has been an expert in criminal law, constitutional law and service law. While he was an advocate, he acted as a panel lawyer for several institutions like Rajasthan State Transport Corporation, Jaipur Development Authority, Rajasthan Agriculture Marketing Board, Department of Stamp and Registration, Rajasthan Income Tax Department of the Union of India, United India Assurance Company, Directorate of Revenue Enforcement, New Delhi, Central Excise and Custom Department, Western Railways, and the National Insurance Company. He authored several papers from various issues like the unorganized sector and the courts, A New Horizon, Secularism and Our Times, etc. In total, he has presented 12 publications, papers at different conferences and assignments. Beside the above, he also acted as the editor-in-chief of the Rajasthan criminal cases and was also a member of the editorial board. While serving as the Chief Justice of Telangana High Court, he was also discharging duty as the Chancellor of the National Academy and Legal Studies and Research, very popularly known as NALSAR, Hyderabad. During his tenure in the High Court of Uttarakhand, Chief Justice Chauhan has disposed of as many as 687 cases. Chief Justice Chauhan has disposed of several important cases. To mention a few, in a PIL, in the case of Sachidananda Dabral versus Union of India, Honorable Chief Justice in a division bench gave series of directions to the government regarding holding of Kumbh Mela 2021 in Haridwar. He also gave various directions to the state government regarding facilities like hospital and strengthening health structure or health infrastructure in the state during pandemic. He also gave slew directions regarding holding of Char Dham Jatra in the state of Uttarakhand, which included directions to the state government to live stream the ceremonies like puja archana carried out within sanctorium of the Char Dham temples. In my short tenure at the Uttarakhand High Court, I have a deep belief that Honorable Chief Justice Chauhan is not only a very erudite and progressive judge, but his judgments are laced with compassion for the fellow human being, especially the underprivileged and downtrodden of the society. His judgment has a unique style of writing. His flawless English used in the judgment make those judgments a treat to the reader. Moreover, Chief Justice Chauhan is a very strict administration, though while taking difficult decisions and giving harsh directions, Chief Justice always smiles, which makes the person on the receiving end also feel a bit happy and relaxed than tense. Chief Justice Sri Chauhan is not only a very good judge and able administrator, but also he is a very fine gentleman and a compassionate human being. We, that is myself, my brother judges of the Uttarakhand High Court, believe and also pray, Lord Almighty, that the experiences of the Chief Justice Chauhan should be put to use either by the state government or by the union government in keeping in the domain of public service even after his demitting the office of the Chief Justice of this court. Therefore, at the end, we all pray the Lord Almighty to give good health, happiness and prosperity to Chief Justice on his demitting office and his family. Thank you.
My esteemed brothers on the bench, my own family, consisting of my wife, Rekha Chauhan, my two children, Aditi and Aditya Chauhan, the family members of my esteemed colleagues, Mr. S.N. Bablukar, the Learned Advocate General for the state of Uttarakhand, Mr. G.S. Sandhu, the Learned Government Advocate for the state, Mr. C.S. Rawat, the Learned Chief Standing Counsel for the state, Mr. Rakesh Taplial, the Learned Assistant Solicitor General of India, Mr. A.S. Rawat, the President of the High Court Bar Association, Mr. Vikas Baguna, the Secretary of the High Court Bar Association, and other members of the executive, the learned senior advocates, the learned members of the bar, Mr. Dhananjay Chaturvedi, the Learned Registrar General, and the other registrars of the High Court, dear law clerks, the staff of the High Court, ladies and gentlemen. Every dawn has its dusk, every night its morning. Perhaps the evening hours are the best time in life, for it gives a person a moment to reflect on his past, to introspect his present, and to plan his future. Today I sit in the twilight zone when the lights are dimmed and the time has come to switch on one's inner lights to illuminate my future paths. A journey of 38 years as a member of the legal fraternity is a long time to reminisce. While I have spent 22 years as a lawyer, I have spent 16 years as a judge. At times the journey has been uncertain and even mysterious, but overall it has been a deeply satisfying and often an exhilarating one. The training of the lawyer and the judge is the same, but we evolve into two different species. The skills required are similar, but not identical. Ability to understand the facts, know and interpret the law, to apply the law to the facts, to ensure fairness to the parties, ultimately to do justice to the parties, and therefore to ensure peace and tranquility in the society. But the focus of the bar and the bench is different. A lawyer fights for and defends the rights and interests of his or her clients. A judge, on the other hand, must rise above the rights and interests of the parties. The judge must see a legal problem in a wider perspective, as a societal issue, as a human problem, as a constitutional puzzle. The vision of the judge has to be holistic, not myopic. The spirit of the judge must be liberal, not conservative. The mind of the judge has to be flexible, not rigid. The viscosity of the judicial thought should be like water, adjustable to new thoughts, philosophies, and technologies. It cannot afford to be rigid, like the rock, crystallized by prejudices and biases. There are times when law has no answers. As Honorable Mr. Justice J.S. Verma, the former Chief Justice of India, says in his book, The New Dimensions of Justice, and I quote, "There are times when a judge must rise above the mundane and the petty squabblings, above the heat and dust of the current events. He must rely on his sense of history and morals, on his understanding of the Constitution of India and the laws, on his sense of justice and fairness, to resolve quixotic legal mysteries. After all, the Constitution of India remains the same in the din of a battle and the silence of tranquility." End of quote. Thus, a judge must be armed with more than just a knowledge of law. He must equip himself with the finer subjects of human knowledge. Simultaneously, he must be aware of and keep abreast of the new developments in science and technology, in finance and global politics. We no longer live in isolation. We are part of the World Wide Web of integrated thoughts and systems. What may happen in Wuhan may certainly impact all of us. Of course, the judges are bound by our oath to decide without fear or favor, without affection or ill will. The judiciary cannot afford to be docile or meek. The Constitution has bestowed upon us a dynamic role as the guardian of the people, as the watchdog of the state, as the upholders of rule of law, and indeed of the democracy itself. Justice Benjamin N. Cardozo reminds us that judges cannot act like knights in a shining armor, but within our well-defined jurisdiction, we must be bold and upright, courageous and independent. And as Socrates tells us, we must hear courteously, answer wisely, consider soberly, and decide impartially. In fact, impartiality and independence have to be the hallmark of any judiciary. And as Theodore Roosevelt, the famous American president, once said, "Speak softly, but carry a big stick." Our biggest stick is the Constitution of our nation. We should be guided by its mandates, by its philosophy. We should be inspired by its dreams, dreams beautifully inscribed in its preamble. The preamble contains our 10 commandments. To deviate from these commandments is to commit a jurisprudential cardinal sin. To dilute them is to betray the faith of the people. To make them subservient to a misplaced notion of governance is to abdicate our constitutional role. We are baptized by the laws. We are dedicated to its sacred creed. By our words or deeds, we cannot commit a judicial sacrilege. The bar and the bench are like the inseparable pair of Mahabharata, Arjun and Lord Krishna. Like Arjun, the bar members have to spend sleepless nights sharpening their legal skills. Like him, you have to be focused in your pleas, logical in your contentions, and persuasive in your rhetoric. Like him, you should be courageous yet humble. Like him, you should be both protector of dharma, of the laws, and be triumphant in your endeavors. Like judges, you too have responsibilities. Your duties are towards the court and the client, towards the society and the nation. The legal profession is a divine one. You have to act like the bodhisattvas in the Buddhist pantheon, who repeatedly reincarnate themselves only for the sake of relieving people of their pain and agonies. Since you have to uphold the rules of law, neither by your deeds nor by your conduct can you afford to break the laws. You are the potential leaders of the nation. You must lead by your example. Both as lawyer and as a judge, I have tried to adhere to the above-mentioned ideals. But being immortal, I may have faltered. However, I have tried to custom tailor my conduct and behavior to the requirements of my profession. If I have made any mistakes or hurt the sentiments or feeling of the learned members of the bar, I can only seek forgiveness. For to err is human, to forgive divine. My learned brother, Honorable Mr. Justice Sanjay Kumar Mishra, and both Mr. S. N. Bablukar, the Learned Advocate General, and Mr. A. S. Rawat, the Learned President of the Bar, have been rather generous in their praises about my work and my personality. However, one should not take such eulogies at their face value. Judges may author judgments, but judges are like chefs who merely prepare a dish to be served to the public at large. The spices are provided by the learned members of the bar through their erudite arguments and exposition of the law. Judges merely take these ingredients and compose the judgments, but even the composition is really not that of the judge, but of the divine power, who places the words, the sentences, and the reasonings into our minds, only to be dictated by us. We, the judges, are thus merely pen in the hands of the divinity. The fate of the litigant is not decided by us, it is decided by that superconscious power which pervades through the universe. Hence, the credit does not really belong to a judge, to us, but goes to the Almighty. In my 16 years as a judge, I am fortunate that I have served in 4 different high courts of the country, 2 in the north, 2 in the south. I am eternally grateful to the respected members of the Honorable Collegium for transferring me out of Rajasthan at my own behest in 2015. The 3.5 years that I spent in the Honorable High Court of Karnataka were perhaps the best years of my life. I came across not only a brilliant bar and affectionate colleagues, but also had the opportunity to closely observe the beauty of the South Indian culture. Like the Pahadi people of Uttarakhand, the Kannadigas are simple in their habits and lifestyle. Like Uttarakhand, Karnataka too is a paradise on earth. Telangana, on the other hand, was full of challenges, for the judiciary in Telangana is beset by inadequate infrastructure. Since the state is a new one, there are plenty of challenges for strengthening the judicial infrastructure, both in terms of physical infrastructure and in terms of human resources. The problems in Telangana were further aggravated by the onslaught of COVID-19 pandemic. However, thanks to my learned colleagues on the bench and thanks to my efficient registry, we carried on our judicial work right through the pandemic storm. Quickly, we adopted to the video conferencing and functioned as a virtual court. In order to meet out the difficulties of the lawyers and the litigants, with the cooperation of the government, we flagged off mobile vans throughout the state. Through the mobile vans, the lawyer could argue before the trial courts. The witness could depose before the courts. According to the national survey held in the year 2020, Telangana High Court was declared as the 3rd best High Court in the country. Obviously, the credit goes both to my colleagues and to the members of my registry. Before I could complete my task in Telangana, I was transferred to the beautiful land called Devbhoomi. Due to the sudden transfer, people may have been perplexed, but I saw it only as a part of a divine plan. It is my great fortune that God brought me to Uttarakhand, thereby giving me a chance to see a beautiful part of our nation, to meet the people of this state, to rejoice in the companies of my brothers and friends, and to tackle new complexities. Undoubtedly, I am blessed with a great set of colleagues who have selflessly guided me in my short tenure as the Chief Justice of the state. Since there are only 8 of us, we are bonded like a family and have followed the motto of the famous novel called The Three Musketeers: one for all for one. I am extremely grateful to my learned brothers for the love and affection bestowed upon me and my family. Most importantly, I am thankful to my colleagues who have shared the bench with me. I have learned a great deal from their legal acumen and court craft. Without a doubt, we have a very fine bar in the High Court, a bar which is disciplined and courteous, intelligent and articulate. The younger members of the bar, hardworking and conscious of their role as lawyers, are a delight to hear. I have high hopes that in times to come, the High Court Bar Association will produce many new legal luminaries who will go on to become senior advocates and certainly judges of this court. I would only request the members of the bar to follow the great traditions of the bar and not to permit the bar to decline to a low ebb. I am sure the learned members of the bar, under the guidance of the learned senior advocates, will rise to the occasion and would live up to my great expectations. Like Telangana, Uttarakhand too has many travails for the judiciary to overcome. Cocooned in our mountainous terrain, we have the problem of physical connectivity and internet inaccessibility. Our people are scattered and isolated on mountain tops. Lack of roads, lack of basic amenities force our people to live a harsh life in severe climate. Nonetheless, the people have proven their courage and ingenuity in tackling the most cruel climatic conditions. There is a sense of joie de vie, a joy of life, in the hearts and soul of our people. However, we cannot abandon our brothers and sisters. After all, The focus of our Constitution is the common man. Although my stint has been a short one, but due to the cooperation of the government, we have managed to resolve many of the problems facing the common man. The government has been kind enough to provide 13 mobile vans for ensuring connectivity throughout the state. The government has transferred lands for the construction of the courts, for the construction of the residential colonies for our judicial officers, and for the construction of chambers for our lawyers. In order to ensure that our judicial officers would have ample time to devote to their judicial work, the government has agreed to provide a stipend for our judicial officers to afford private staff members. I am extremely grateful to the government for its sensitivity and for its appreciation of the difficulties faced by the judiciary in our state. After all, let us remember, the stronger the legal fraternity, the more peaceful the state. I am extremely grateful to Mr. Dhananjay Chaturvedi, the Learned Registrar General, and to the other learned registrars who ungrudgingly and very efficiently discharged all the duties assigned to them. Mr. Gurpreet Singh, my principal private secretary, took care of all my needs and has never given me cause for complaint. I was fortunate to also have the valuable assistance of a very efficient team of Mr. P.S. Rathod, my private secretary, Mr. Nishant Kumar and Mr. Rahul Prajapati, my two personal assistants, Mr. Devan Singh Bisht and Mr. S.S. Gosai, my bench secretaries, and Ms. Urvashi Agrawal and Mr. Aman Unyal, my two law clerks. But for their unstinted support, my judicial work would have suffered considerably. My special thanks to Mr. Vijay Sajwan, my court attendant, whose positivity and efficiency is highly impressive. I am equally grateful to Mr. Vinod Jagwan, my other attendant, and to Mr. Manoj Sharma, the kitchen attendant. I also thank the staff attached with me at the High Court and those at my residence. Their ability to discharge their duties day in and day out, always with a smile, has never ceased to amaze us. My sincere thanks to both my drivers, Mr. Pradeep Naugai and Mr. Sudesh Raturi, who took me and my family around this beautiful state of Uttarakhand. My sincere thanks to my personal security officers and the other security personnel entrusted with my security. My sincere thanks to Dr. L.M.S. Rawat and his team of doctors who not only took good care of my family, but most importantly, took care of all of us during the pandemic avalanche. A man's home is said to be his castle. My hearth and home have been kept warm and cheerful by my dear wife, Rekha. In Durga Saptasati, and now let me make a public confession, in Durga Saptasati there is a shloka which says, Divine Mother, give me a wife who will help me swim through the ocean of this world throughout my life. Let me confess that as a bachelor, I had recited this shloka fervently every day, and my prayers have been answered. Rekha has stood by me like the rock of Gibraltar. I have no words to express my gratitude towards her. My two children, Aditi and Adit, are the two wheels of my chariot. Their endless questions, their curiosity, their free conversations, their quirky sense of humor keeps me alive. I am certainly grateful to the gods for giving me such fine children. My friends, some of whom have come all the way to Nainital from Jaipur, that too for the purpose of taking me back dusty, are my shock absorbers. Without them, life would have been quite jerky and rather uncomfortable. I am indebted to all of them. Last but certainly, the most important persons in my life, my parents, and all three of them. My father, Dr. P.S. Chauhan, my late mother, Mrs. Sushila Chauhan, and my other mother, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Chauhan. Whatever I am today and whoever I may become tomorrow is due to their endless sacrifices and infinite blessings. Before I rise from this court and demit my office, let me say a small Irish prayer for all of you. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. And now I take my last bow to the learned members of the bar. Thank you.
Now we seek the permission of Honorable the Chief Justice to place the proceedings on record and close the proceedings.
Please do.
Thank you, Lordship. The proceedings are closed. May I request you all to join in at tea on the ground floor of the Chief Justice block.